welcome everyone to our weekly Lead Champ Pro call. My name is Nick Odom. I'm excited to have you guys here. I'm so excited I can't even speak this week because it is absolutely Black Friday week. And of course, before Black Friday, we have Thanksgiving. And I just want to say we at Lead Champ Pro are super grateful for all of our viewers, all of our users, all of the agents that work with us every single day. Thank you so much, for being fantastic to us and being, absolutely great clients here at Lead Champ. And also super grateful for Josh and Jamie, who we have back on the call this week again to talk about building a career in life insurance, making money long-term, which is going to be awesome. But before we talk about that, couple quick promotions, reminders, announcements, things like that. Let's go over to the Discord and take a look at some of the good news from this week. And if you guys aren't in the Discord, please click the button at the top of Lead Champ and join the Discord so you can be a part of the community. You can share the good news that you have going on in your life, your successes, your sales, your conversions, and where Lead Champ is helping you book appointments hands-free or even saving clients like we have this week. So it looks like Wyatt Berger with a $12,000 sale. Let's freaking go, man. Locking it in, 12,000 F&G. Brett Dunham with back-to-back 1234 and 1100 NLG, Flex Life, NLG term right there, back-to-back. Jamie Miola, missed payment button for the win. I could not get a hold of her on the phone at all. This client, obviously had missed their payment, got the automated message, and got back in touch with Jamie to get their coverage back, to get their payment back on file and keep their coverage, which is huge. About 1 out of 5 this saves, guys. Make sure every time you get one of those emails saying that you've missed a payment, go in and change their policy status to missed payment so that they're getting those messages. Then a couple more here. Caleb Tipton, 984 Ethos. Brian Little, 547 Mutual of Omaha. Quentin Kelly, 1483. John Wetmore, 384. Locking it in. You guys are throwing out sales every single day. I see people posting stories, having conversations, helping each other get more wins. So if you're not a part of the Discord yet, make sure you join the Discord so you can be a part of the community. And we will mention it again on this call and probably again and again and again. You'll probably get like 40 emails from us and 30 texts this week. But we are running our biggest special ever for Black Friday, both for new users and for existing users. If you are a new user, you have never signed up for Lead Champ before, you can get 90% off your first month with Lead Champ. It's basically free. It's absolutely incredible. Take advantage of that right away with code BF90 on the website. Or if you still have some questions, go on leadchamppro.com, book a demo with me. We have plenty of time to talk between now and Cyber Monday, but the deal is done after Cyber Monday. We will not continue to offer this, so you have to lock it in this week and get set up right away. If you're an existing user, you can actually lock in Lead Champ Pro for an entire year for 45% off. Take advantage of this before the end of the year and lock in your tax, your tax write-offs for the year, by the end of the year for next year. So you can go ahead and save 45% off Lead Champ. If you already know I'm going to be using it anyway, it's the best tool in the business. It's already making me more money than it costs. Why not save the extra money and lock that in? So that's our Black Friday deal. Like I said, if you guys have questions, leadchamppro.com, book a demo. If you want to go ahead and sign up, code BF90 on the website. All right, that being said, let me go ahead and get Jamie and Josh up here on screen for you guys so you can see their beautiful faces. Spotlight you, Jamie and Josh. Pretty soon here, we're going to get these guys to start a podcast, Hot Dads Sell Insurance. They haven't committed yet. Okay, let's go. I see it. You guys are ready.
Good dads, not
good
hot
dads.
dads.
Hey,
Just good dads.
Yeah, well, hey, that's even better, right? Good dads sell insurance. You know what I mean? Less funny, but more true, more relevant. Thank you guys so much. We are super grateful to have y'all here on the call today, sharing your time and your wisdom with us. So I'll let you guys take it from here.
Yeah, I'm in a random, weird setup here. I'm in a cabin in North Carolina, so we're getting it all in this week. One other announcement I want to make. You should already have an email about this. But AI, right? So anybody that has been around for a long time, you have gone to OpenAI and set up an API key as of this past Monday, 2 days ago. The AI provider has done away with all API keys for multiple reasons. A, they break. B, people forget to charge their stuff, and then AI is not doing anything, and there can be more discrepancies with the AI token providers, which, if anybody doesn't understand that, you pay for usage, and you're not paying for texting. You're paying for the message creation, which is called a token. Many of our top users pay $15 to $20 a month in usage because of the volume of leads and everything like that. So, with that said, what we have done, there was a bunch of complicated ways that we could continue to allow you to pay for usage. So we simplified it, and we said, hey, we're going to worry about all the usage in the back end and upkeeping the stuff, and we're going to let everybody just pay a flat rate, right? You pay flat rate, you can use as much or as little as you want, depending on your lead flow, and you can either pay $14 a month flat, or if you want to get a discount, pay for the year and just be one and done, not have to worry about it, pay $99. So if you want AI, which if you go to that link, you can watch a video about it. What AI does for you is, when the messages are going out, when somebody responds, it's going to pick up the conversation, it's going to book it for you, and it's going to do that hands-free. Myself, I usually have somewhere between 30 and 40 appointments set per month with AI, which is nice, because if somebody texts you at 11 o'clock at night and you're sleeping, it's going to go ahead and book that appointment. So for everybody, whether you're new or you've been around a long time, and maybe you even have AI and you've had our AI for a long time, you will need to convert to the paid plan. We'll give everybody some grace period, but ultimately, if you're just on an API key and don't switch to the paid plan, at some point it will stop working, because API keys are no longer a thing when it comes to AI. So make your way over to the Launchpad, get that set up if you'd like to, and we'll be notifying. An email went out a little bit ago, and everybody that has AI active right now will be directly hit up to be made aware of that. And then for new people, that's going to be a part of onboarding. So just want to let everybody know that if you want to keep your AI going, you can go turn off your API key, switch over, and it's going to be relatively the same, if not cheaper, depending on your lead flow. So want to make mention of that. Obviously, tomorrow is Thanksgiving, so no live dials. We're going to be eating turkey and stuffing. And if you're a crazy person, that weird cranberry sauce, I don't like that. So if that's you, rock on, do your thing. So what we're going to talk about, how do we turn off the API key? Good question. It's already turned off. Nothing's happening with it. So you don't have to do anything. Just delete it. You can go into your account and just delete, but nothing is going to it. So nothing is happening with it. Great question. So what we're going to talk about, a few things, and I'm going to have a couple of specific tips for you that you can do inside of LeadChamp over between now and the end of the year, that I think that you should do to maximize your contacts. But we're going to talk about how to have success long term in the insurance industry. Now, I see some absolute killers on this call that are crushing it all the time, and that's great. Anybody can have a good month, even a good year, but we want to have year after year. We want to have progression, because one thing I know is, if anybody's ever seen that movie Pursuit of Happiness, right? Progress is happiness, and if you don't feel like you're making a difference in what you do, whether it's life insurance or any other thing, or you don't feel like you're progressing, even if you're making like good money, you're making six figures or multiple six figures right now, if you do the same thing year after year and you don't feel like you're moving the needle, at some point, like, you're just going to get bored, you're going to get frustrated, and that's going to lead to wanting to look at other things. So we want to make sure that you feel like you're progressing, not only in life, but obviously here in your career in life insurance. So we're going to talk about that. Jamie has done very, very well for himself, and I've just been around a really long time. I hate to say it. I got the gray in my beard. I sold my first life insurance policy in 2007, so I do think I can speak on the topic. So, Jamie, right? We have different folks on the call, some that are just getting ramped up, some that are crushing it. Not everybody can be an Elise Soapy, but we can all strive to. So, starting off, what would you say, like, should be the first thing that people need to be thinking about, aware of, if they're just trying to get ramped up? Let's start there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think I would bring it back to activity. I mean, just in general. And I think This is one of those things that I think is probably one of the biggest roadblocks that hinders most new people. And I mean, and if you're past this stage and you're like, you know what, I've already been geared up, I'm already at the independent stage, I don't need to worry about activity. Listen anyways, just because like maybe you got some new people and I want you to be able to share some of this with them. But I always talk about getting to your first 100 appointments as quickly as possible. Like if you get through your first 100 appointments, you're pretty much going to learn just about everything you need to know about selling insurance, overcoming objections, all the scenarios, e-applications. You'll get snagged on a specific e-app and you're like, I'll never let that happen to me again. You lose a sale because of it. You'll pretty much have all that happen in 100 appointments. Now, I see agents who I look at like what is the speed in which they got through those first 100 appointments. So like I'll have an agent who like did 100 appointments in a year, then I'll have an agent who does 100 appointments in 6 weeks. Whose learning curve, obviously, picked up faster. The person who did it in 6 weeks. And, we're talking about how to make it in life insurance long term. And the person that I'm specifically thinking of who did 100 appointments in 6 weeks, they're no longer here. So that wasn't the whole picture, because they didn't make it long term. But they sure as heck got the plane off the ground. And I look at people who, kind of are here for a year and still haven't got the plane off the ground. They haven't moved from like dependent to independent. So I mean, that's kind of where I'd want to start, Josh, just this idea of like going from dependent to independent.
Yeah, a couple things, right? Brand new folks. Of course, we want to everybody. We need to provide good training. We need to be attending good training ongoing. I would say again for anybody that's been around for a while. And I'm speaking to the choir of the people that are on this call, but if anybody sees this, it's like you need to keep coming around calls like this, trainings, in-person things, even if you are $1 million producer, just because most often we need to be reminded of things we stopped doing, than learning new things, right? Last week, Caleb Tipton, he was like, "Hey, I book an appointment, a second appointment with all my sales, so I can get back on, review their coverage, and I get a ton of referrals that way." And I'm like, what a stupid, simple thing that we all could do, but like we just haven't. We maybe had a good idea that we were going to do that 6 months ago and just never got around to it. The second thing is if you're brand new or new-ish and you're like, I I'm just not getting the training that I need. And maybe that's true to some degree, and I don't know your experience, but what I would say is like if you have some basics, if you have a basic understanding of what I should say when I get on the phone, hey, you filled out the form, I'm getting you the information. If you have your carrier logins that they sent to you, you kind of have enough to get going. And sometimes we want to get all of the training so we know literally everything. So then we can go apply it and never have any objections. And that's just not real. And there's so many crazy scenarios that we encounter, right? Like we could just go open the lines up and everybody could give me the objections that they've got. And it's like, where do you even prepare for that? Right? Elise, I'm thinking of you and you guys and some of the stuff you told me. But the point is, if you're doing those reps and you're getting the 106 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it is, but if you're doing a lot of reps, then every day, if I'm on Jamie's team, I can call Jamie and go, "Man, I got this one today. What do you do in this scenario?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I've dealt with that. Handle it this way, this way, this way." Or, "Oh hey, Americo, it wouldn't validate. What do I need to do? Oh, check this, this, and this." Right? If you're bringing those to scenarios because you're actually facing them, then it's easy to get training. If you're just like, "Hey, train me on everything," it's like, yeah, hey, go sell, call them. And I remember I was in the home, I'm on Jamie's team here, and I remember I was working through an Aetna app. It was my first one, and I called Jamie because I was on the screen. It was stuck. I don't know how to, get to the next screen, and I'm kind of panicking. I've been there for like an hour, and I called Jamie. I'm like, "Hey, I'm on this screen. How do I get to the next page?" He's like, "Dude, I don't know. I can't see your screen. Figure it out." And he hung up on me. And I was like, I was mad for a minute, but you know what? You know what happened? I never had that problem again because I figured it out. So, it's like this back and forth of self-reliance, putting a lot of work in, but then having these scenarios that you can bring to actually get good coaching. And so that's the point, right? You have to have a lot of activity to get the plane off the ground. Anything before we move to the next, anything else you'd say on that, Jamie?
No, I mean, I think just again, like our goal is if we're trying to make it long term, like if you've been here a year and you still feel like your success is dependent in any, and we're talking about just selling here, your success in any way, shape, or form on selling an activity on a daily basis is based on, is your manager logged into live dials? Or like if my manager is taking his kids to school and I'm in the home, and I'm on appointments, like, am I like, I'm good? Or I'm like, oh my gosh, Grady's not available. I can't sell today because Grady's not available. Like, it's to the point where, you do this for a lot, like, and we're not talking about, building an agency or anything yet. Just that first level of getting to the point where, like, if it was just you with a stack of leads, you could make it happen. Like, everything that you need to know to at least go hunt and kill and bring home some food for your family. Like,
Yeah.
if in any way, shape, or form, it's like, hey, you know, I'm out hunting and it's like, hey, Grady, I need you to, help me aim my gun here and pull the trigger for me. It's like, no, like, I'm just gonna get out there and hunt some food and bring it home. We got to get to that point as quickly as possible. If we're not there, we need to get there. And if you have agents on your team, like, that's got to be the goal, is to get them like out of that dependent mode. Like, it's so freeing when you move to independent, because now the next thing, and I don't know if this is where you're going, Josh, we talk about, scaling the activity. Like, that's the next thing that you can really control, is getting to the point where it's like, I know how to sell insurance. I know how to overcome objections. If it comes down to it and you give me 10 appointments, I'm closing 5 of them on my own, no questions asked. I got this. And then it's like, what's next?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say, um, we could flip flop, right? But yeah, once you figure that out, you have to, how do I say this, right? Not everybody's going to be $1 million producer. Not everybody's going to be a $500,000 producer. Now, um, does that mean that long term, and I'm talking about issue paid business right now, like you could just issue pay 10 grand a month and be okay? Probably not. Like the person that just lives at 10 grand a month and that's where their home is, maybe you're doing this part time, but maybe you're married and your spouse bring home most of the money, and like there's some situation like that. Like, but if you're anything like me or Jamie, where you're married, you have kids, and you have people that depend on you, and you have to make something happen, like that's just not going to cut it. And so if you don't learn how to get to 20, 30, 40 issue paid plus, like if you never get there, like you're just not going to last long term, because we have chargebacks and advance caps and things happen, and you have family expenses and the car breaks down, and the dog needs to go to the vet, that's expensive. And so you have to get there, right? Does that mean you have to get there overnight? No, it doesn't. But again, if you're here a year and you haven't learned how to get to those levels, then it's either an activity or a lead flow situation. Um, we can kind of talk more about scaling activity. The next thing I would point out is, once you kind of you've learned that you know how to sell, and you're selling at a level that you can support yourself, and you've done that for at least 90 days, then I would say, okay, now we need to take a look at becoming a good business person, because so many times I see people, they come to us in the agency, they come to us in Lead Champ, and they're like, I sell. And it's like, okay, cool. You're good at getting people to say yes to you, but your back end is an absolute mess, and you're probably not keeping very much money. What are the reasons for that? Well, maybe you get a bunch of people to say yes, but people don't make their first payment, which is, you have a terrible premium applied ratio, or your 3 or 6 month retention is bad, or your 12-month retention is bad, or you're spending 2 grand a week on leads. That's 8 grand for the month, and you're issue paying like 20,000. So you're not even issue paying 3 times of what you spent. And so there's all these things where you can feel like things are going well because you're hitting the submit application button a lot. The submit board looks good, but your bank account doesn't look good. So let's kind of talk about that for a minute, Jamie. Where would you like to start? So let me paint the picture. Okay, let's say I'm brand new. I come in, I crush it. I spend, and this was me. I spend $2,000 a week. I'm running 30, 40 plus appointments a week. I'm submitting 10 grand a week. I do that for 90 days. And then that's about the time chargebacks start to happen. And I'm like, yo, Jamie, like, I felt like I was making more money, but I'm not. Let's, now let's pick up from there.
Yeah, I mean, this is something I was going to talk about later in the call, but I'll bring it up now. Um, like you go through seasons of scrappiness in this business, and I think that there's just something that people have to prepare for. Like, um, the first time that you wake up and you have -7 grand on a carrier, like that is a gut punch. You're just like, holy crap. And I remember the first time it happened to me, I was like, I felt like I was in like an impossible situation. And then I like realized, like, I'm like, thank goodness they don't just take it from our bank account. That would be a problem. Thank goodness they give me this negative commission and I get an opportunity to still go to work today. And I remember like going to work and just putting my head down, making some sales and getting out of it. And it took me a couple of days, however long it took me. And then I was like, holy crap, like I did that. And like I was like, I can do anything. And it was like one of those things where like when that happened, it's happened about 100 times since that first time that it happened. Like this is a part of the business. Sometimes you have weeks where it feels like even if you have good persistency, there can be weeks where 2 or 3 big policies with the same carrier fall off at the same time, and it's just kind of the luck of the draw that week. There can be times when um, you just kind of have weak cash flow. You're like, I really, really, really like was trying to buy some new leads this week, but like I'm waiting on that one commission, or I got to work out of this hole real quick. Like that is part of the business. Or you start building an agency, you bring out an agent who doesn't make it long term in the business. They leave behind some chargebacks, and you're missing bedtime with your kids a couple of nights because you're selling extra to try to pay off some of their stuff. That's part of the business. So again, like there are seasons of scrappiness. There's also seasons where it's like, this week, was a great week because it was like every single day I was getting a fat deposit from America. That feels amazing. It was like I don't have any debt. This is great. Like I'm getting everything. But then it's like, what's going to happen next week? Like I'm probably going to have a big one that's going to fall off, and I'm like, darn it. But that's part of this business. So it's like, how do you handle that? Like, do you keep your head down and just keep going? Or do you allow it to paralyze you? I've seen agents that when they get into these seasons that require them like to just continue moving forward, they get paralyzed. It completely takes them out of this business. Having the mindset ahead of time that, okay, I'm probably going to get to, after everything's all said and done, lead expenses and chargebacks, and this might be conservative. Maybe you're better. You use lead champion, better retention, but I get to keep half of what I make. That's what I always think to myself. I'm only going to, I need to make double what I think I need to make, in order for me to survive. And if I get to keep extra, that's amazing. But just again, you're going to go through these seasons. It's going to happen. So the only thing that cures all of it is going to be the consistent activity. If you're going to be a career agent, you're going to end up in these situations. And this is one last thing I'll say before I pass it back to you, Josh. Maybe you're somebody who has sold a bunch, and then like you're starting to take your foot off the gas and like starting to build your agency more and teach and train. Well, guess what? These seasons still come. And guess what is required some weeks? It's required to start dialing the phone again. Like you're like the person who's like, well, I'm just the agency manager now, and I used to sell 40 a month. Now I just sell 15 a month, and I help the team. Hey, well, if you get some chargebacks, like you got to get off your ass and start dialing the phone again because like we're in a season of scrappiness this week, and I need to make it happen, or my business is going to fall apart. Like this is the best business ever, and it can be a very stressful business as well if you like let those things paralyze you. But if you just keep moving, like it's not gonna slow you down.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. You have to have the mentality first because tough times will happen. Things in life happen. Life will life. We all know that. So here's a couple of things I would jot down just to kind of think about or if you haven't thought about to, really start getting clear. So number one is, what's your number? What is the number of income that you have to make everything work? For a lot of people, this business is amazing. Maybe you've never made 5 figures in a month. Maybe that's you, and you see cash flow start going through your account, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm making so much money. And then you're like, it seems like it's going out because it's fast coming in because you have leads and all the the great tools that you can have in the business. So how much do you need to run your household bills? Okay, so let's say you need $5,000 a month. Okay, and you're like, oh, if I make 10, then I'm good. Well, no, how much do you spend on leads? Maybe it's $6,000 a month, so now you need $10,000 a month. And you're like, okay, if I just make $10,000 a month, I'm good. It's like, well, no. Do you have any debt? Do you plan on getting out of debt? Maybe you do. How much do you need to put towards that every month? What happens? Everybody, we all have a slush fund, right? Where we just, we have to go get, cookout at 11 o'clock at night, or we like to go to the movies on the weekend, or whatever the thing is, or the washer goes out, or the car needs new tires, right? So like we have that stuff that happens. And when we do our financial planning, we tend to be perfect stewards of our money, and we're only going to spend money that we absolutely need. And then we go get, extra cake pops at Starbucks. And so, maybe it's like 15,000 if you have to, in this made up scenario that you have to make. Okay. And so if that's you and you're like, I need to make 15,000 with leads and, potential chargebacks and household bills and that is what you have to make. Okay. And if you're like me or like Jamie, where, I'm the breadwinner of the household, my wife, doesn't work outside of the home, I have 2 kids, there's no excuses, right? No one's coming to save me. No one's going to be like, hey, you had a rough day at the office. It's, did you get results? Yes or no? And if it's no, you just got to keep working and make it happen. So if you know your number, and then what happens is we head fake ourselves. Oh man, I submitted 20K this week. I had a big policy. I submitted 10K every week. But like, did that amount of money hit your bank account? Yes or no? And if it didn't, there's no excuses. You have to keep selling. So that's number one, is just knowing your number, sitting down and actually, and I know this is simple, but we're all ADD salespeople who just, give us some caffeine and somebody to talk to, and to sit down and plan this stuff out seems like, gun to the head. I don't want to do this stuff. Number two is, do you want to explain, Jamie, what carrier roulette is?
Carry, does anyone know the game roulette?
Yeah.
It's a really morbid game with a gun where they spin the little roulette, thing of it, and you have one bullet in it, and then eventually
That's
you're going to
Russian.
die
That's
if you keep
Russian
it.
roulette.
That's
There's
Russian
regular
roulette. So
roulette,
there's
which
regular
is
roulette. Well, it's the same thing. If you play carrier roulette, eventually the bullet's coming for you.
Yeah.
Carrier roulette is when you have debt with Americo. So instead of writing the carrier that like underwriting genie, recommends you write, you go, I'm going to go write Moo. And then you've got debt with Americo and Moo because you're just not doing a good job. And I'm going to go write Trans. And then you got debt with Trans. You're like, well, I'm going to go write Gerber. Oh, you start writing these obscure carriers because you want to get paid, as opposed to, I have debt with a carrier. I'm not going to change what carrier I write. Regardless, I'm going to write the right carrier. I'm going to write the carrier that was recommended to me. I'm going to write the carrier that has the product that's best for the client, regardless if I get paid. Playing carrier roulette is, I'm going to write the carrier that's going to pay me. Eventually, you're going to spin it. It's going to be like Russian roulette, and you're going to have no place to go. And then Vector is going to hit, and then it's just like you have no option. So it's like, of all the carriers that we have, we can get contracted with like almost 30 carriers, which is crazy to me. I think I probably write 5 carriers, period. And I maybe have a 6th carrier in a very obscure situation, which happens like once every 3 to 4 months.
Yes.
Otherwise,
So,
I keep it tight. I keep it narrow.
yes. So career agents, I mean, they're going to have 3 to 5 carriers that they always write, 90% of the time. And the reason they're going to, we have all these things, and there's tools out there like toolkits, underwriting genie, all these things. And it's like, you're just like, I just need the best one. So the person says yes to me. Obviously, that is not a career minded agent. That is a commission breath agent that's just hoping that the next sale is going to save their financial life, right? A career agent is going to do the right thing for the client and for them in their way of doing business. So typically they're going to have 3 to 5 carriers that they write 90% of the time, because number one, you get to really know all the ins and outs of those policies. You've probably read all of the policy materials, what living benefit coverages they offer and they don't offer. The suite of a lot of these carriers have a suite of products, and you get to know them all and what the riders are. Number two is you're going to maximize your comp. A lot of them have some sort of bonuses and trips and things like that. Number three is you're going to get to build relationships with the people at home office, which I think this is oftentimes overlooked. It's like, hey, we just put the sales in, they pay us, but there's going to be that one time where you need something where, policy's not getting through, or just something comes up. And if you have a relationship with a carrier rep or the people at home office, that's the difference between maybe that one time you getting it through and somebody who just, no one knows your name. Right. So if they see it, right. If you're putting in a bunch of business, right. You call in, they're gonna go, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I know Luana. Yeah, she writes a ton of business with us. Yeah, let's take care of her. So if that's you on the call, right, I would narrow it down and figure out what's the 3 to 5 carriers I'm going to write most of my business through, or ask maybe your manager, and get it tight, get it right. And you don't want to fall victim to carrier roulette. Next item is good sales practices. This is a simple one, but after you make a sale, there's a couple of metrics that most all carriers look at. It's going to be your premium applied ratio, usually a 3 or 6 month retention, and a 12-month retention or persistency. Okay. So premium applied ratio, I'm going to use Americo, for example, because they have it displayed nicely in their back office. Others do too. Some do, some don't. I'm just going to use there because I think a lot of people on the call can go and look at this. Okay. So if you go and you have a premium applied ratio of less than 70%, 70, 75%, that means that a third of all the people that you sign up they got approved and they're not making their first payment. Okay. And the only reason that happens is because they didn't actually want it. You finagled them into the policy and they didn't want it. Right. And usually, the things are said on the calls is like, let's just see if we can get you approved today. You don't have to pay for anything today. We're just seeing if you get approved. Hey, the payment doesn't have to come out anytime. We just need to get the application in. So if you're saying any weird stuff like that, stop it. All right. Make sure that when you're selling the policy, they know that they're actually getting a policy. Two, if 3 or 6 month retention. If it's 3 month, again, that's going to be an issue with you're selling policies to people who can't afford them, don't want them, and are just saying yes and going along with it. 6 month, a little bit different. I would say that you're probably not paying attention to missed payments. All right. Now, I wish that all the carriers would let us just like automate missed payment stuff, but everything's encrypted, double password, and all that kind of stuff. So you need to have a process. If it's just you as a solo producer, I would say maybe a couple times a week. If you have a staff person, it should be every day, where you're checking the back offices and those emails that we get for people who have gone into pre-cancellation, right? I know Moo and Americo are very good about this. Some carriers are too. Others, they don't send you anything. You just have to go figure it out. So that's why you want few carriers that you write, because if you have 10 carriers that you write, your back end processes of checking on this stuff, you're going to go crazy. So check on that stuff every day and go hit the missed payment button inside of Lead Champ. I promise you, about 50% of the time, it's, oh, I forgot. I had a lady yesterday. I sold her a big policy, and we just talked 3 days ago. She's like, hey, I got my policy in the mail. Like, she's telling me she's happy with it. And then it went insufficient funds. And I'm like, how did this happen? I hit the missed payment button, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. My bank has like a fraud detection thing on my account, and they just blocked it. So I have to call my bank, tell them to unblock it. We're good to go. Simple thing, but in the past, I wouldn't have checked on that. I wouldn't hit the missed payment button, and it would just canceled. I wouldn't know about it. So check on your stuff. And then 12-month, if you do those first things and you're using Lead Champ, your 12 months should just kind of take care of itself, because those messages are going out if you're using the what happened button. Okay, if you have not hit the what happened button yet, that is your objective over the next 7 days, is to make a sale, put it in the what happened button. They're going to get checked on about their policy. They're going to get, reminded about what they have, and all those things are going to compound. So your 12-month retention should go up. All right. Next item, this is just kind of a general one, is just general follow-up and or referrals. In a quick order, I would challenge everybody. I don't have to ask. Everybody on here is probably pretty terrible at getting referrals of some sort, because we're lead junkies. We just buy more leads and we try to spend our way out of our problems. So if you could just put one or two things in your process and just say, okay, I'm not going to try to fix everything. I'm just going to do one thing a little bit better. And let me give you some options, right? You could start asking for 2 to 3 beneficiaries on every single call, input their names and phone numbers. And after you get off the call, go hit that beneficiary button and load them in. It's going to text them. It's going to set up more calls for you, so you can talk to those beneficiaries, add more value to clients, and ultimately make more sales. And what we know is about 50% of those will book an appointment with you, and 50% of the ones you talk to will buy a policy with you, as long as you offer them one, right? And so most of us, we just fill in the beneficiary field just so we can get by the application, and we keep it moving. Take an extra 2 minutes, get 2 or 3 beneficiaries, get their phone numbers. Once you get done, put them in. That's one thing you could do to get more referrals. The other thing that you could do, like Caleb Tipton, I think everybody should do this. You make a sale, you schedule another appointment for 2 weeks later, or 2 days before their payment date, if you post dated it, just to check on them. Hey, did you get your policy? Do you understand it? Do you have any questions? A lot of times, if you're selling IULs, for example, the paperwork that you get in the policy doesn't say IUL. It says something like flexible premium whole life. That confuses people. They go, wait a minute, I thought I got an IUL. This says whole life. It's like, okay, no, that's what they call it, flexible premium whole life. Whole life just means permanent. IUL is part of the permanent family. And you explain it to them, they go, oh, okay, cool. No one's actually ever taken the time to do this. So that when the next person calls them to try to replace your policy, they're like, nah, Jesse takes care of me. He's my man. He took the time with me, and I'm not going to cancel. So, I know that we're moving fast. We're trying to burn and turn and be as top producers as we can, but it's a whole lot easier to get more long-term value out of the customers we have than to just burn and turn and have to go buy a lead to replace the next one. Okay. So that's 2 options.
Josh, if I could jump in here just for a sec here, like, I don't know about you guys, but when I first got started selling insurance, like that dopamine hit of making a sale, it's like the most addictive thing ever. And like that's what you want. And you don't get that same dopamine hit when you book that second appointment to go over someone's policy. You don't. It's like, I just had this dopamine hit, $400 a month. I posted in the chat, 4,800 Americo IUL, let's go. I got 3,600 dropping in advanced cap with Americo tomorrow. This is amazing. 2 weeks later, when they go, I've got questions about my policy. If you're human, you don't really want to do that call. You don't. But you know what's worse is when that person cancels. And it's like, why did I do all of that work in the first place? So it's kind of like you just got to grow up a little bit. Like, yeah, I want to chase, I chased all kinds of dopamine hits when I was growing up, as, teenager, young adult. And then like, as you get older, you just realize like, okay, like this instant gratification thing, like this is going to bite me in the butt in the long run if I just stay there. So it's like, yeah, dopamine hits all day. I love selling like a crazy person, and coming home feeling like a shark who just tasted blood, like all that stuff. Like it's amazing. However, it's also super disappointing when you're like, oh man, like that client, like they were so into it on that call. And it's like I had a lady yesterday, Diane. I sold her 2 weeks ago. We did end up actually post dating it. I think it comes out today. So it's like, yesterday or the day before we got on the phone. And she goes, Jamie, I'm looking through the policy papers and like I'm a truck driver. And like I noticed here that the disability income rider isn't checked. That was the main reason that we got this policy was I needed money if I became disabled. What the F? And I was like, well, that rider isn't even included in this policy. Like we're talking about critical and chronic illness. Like that's what you're looking for. So she's like, but this thing right here, I'm like, yeah, you're looking at an application where also if you go to the first page, it says you check what product. So it's got the list of every Americo product. And it's like check this, check this, check this. And it's like we check this one. That benefit isn't even included with this policy. So she was like about to cancel the policy because it didn't have what she thought. I told her, and I'm like, no, the thing that we talked about, and go to this page, is the chronic illness rider. That's what talks about daily living activities. And oh my gosh, thank you so much. So it's just like that call did not really give me much of a dopamine hit at all. But you know what? She's going to make her first payment today. And she's probably going to keep the policy because I spent a few extra minutes with her where it's
So
just, yeah, I'll let you keep going.
had she charged back, what, because she got mad and just canceled because she thought that you didn't give her what she wanted, what would the dollar amount been charged back?
I don't know, a few grand.
Yeah, just a few grand, no big deal, right? Like that's the point. It is a big deal. All right, so here's before we move to kind of the next bullet point, here is one little tip. I'm going to screen share here in a second of what you can do in LeadChamp. Is again, a lot of we're talking about, how to correct some bad habits really. And we used to say you need to exhaust your leads. Okay. Now there's many ways to do that. I think a lot of us, we get a new lead, and I see what happens. You call them once. If you're lucky, you call them twice, and then you go buy some new leads, right? And you're like, you get what you get and you keep it moving, right? So exhausting your leads means call them more than once, call them more than twice, call them multiple times, call them at different times of the day, those kinds of things. Obviously, LeadChamp is going to be texting them. The text campaigns, they typically run somewhere between 2 and 3 months, and then there's a long-term drip. But for anybody that as of right now that's on this call that you've been in LeadChamp for more than 90 days, here's what I think you should do. I did this recently, and I sold like a policy or two a week for like 6 weeks or 8 weeks, something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'll show you kind of how to do this. So this is my account right here. And so all these people, they've been getting texted and whatever else, but at some point we're not going to just blow them up every day into infinity. That's a great way to ruin your number and spam and all those types of things. So at some point it's going to tail off, right? So what I did is I went into the contact page and I said, look, I'm going to run a search for, I'm going to do created over more than 90 days ago. Okay. So that's the first thing I'm going to search for. And I only want to do my IUL leads, right? So I'll do tag. So the first search I did was created over 90 days ago. The second filter I'm putting in is a tag. And I'm going to do my IUL leads, which is the tag is IUL space leads. I'm going to click that, and I'm going to see how many I have that are over 90 days ago. I bet it's a lot. 10,000 leads. My goodness, that's a good bit of leads here. All right, and so if, now these are people, again, over 90 days ago, so we've called them, we've texted them, and they probably haven't responded, so let me put in one more thing. Let's go with, let's see, tag. Make sure we're not hitting up people that, I've already sold. So tag is not sold. Anything else, Jamie? Let's see.
Maybe tag is not appointment booked.
Okay. Yeah, tag is not. So we have more than 90 days ago and IUL leads, and tag is not sold, and tag is not
Appointment booked.
appointment.
These
And
are
I'll show
people
you.
you straight up never gotten a hold of.
Yeah. And there's probably, I just thought of an easier way to do this. I'll show you here in a second. All right. So those people are 7,300. All right. So now I'm going to go up here. And I'm not actually going to do this because I just already did this. I'm going to put them into an automation. I'll call it, 90-day plus campaign or re-engage. Let's say re-engage. I'm going to put them in a workflow. And since they're IUL leads, I'm going to put them back into an aged IUL campaign, right? And I don't want 7,300 to go out all at once because that'll overwhelm me because I got appointments today. So I'm going to put it in drip mode and I'm going to say start it now. And I would say, maybe 200 a day to go out and repeat every day until it's done, right? And if I hit add, then 200 messages are going to go out every day like clockwork. And so I did that, and people, it wasn't much the first day, but it started compounding. Next thing you know, I'm getting a couple appointments a day. AI's booking them, and I'm selling 1 or 2 a week. Now, that's not a ton, but like that 1 or 2 a week was like an extra $3,000 or $5,000 that like maybe I had a bad week and it made up my week. And I didn't have to spend any money on new leads. These were leads I already had. So if you're over 90 days old, or maybe you have an old list and you just got started, that's definitely what you want to do there. All right, last thing, Jamie. So we've kind of come through the evolution, right? We've learned how to sell. We've kind of checked some boxes to make sure we're maintaining profitability. We're limiting our chargebacks. We're limiting our carriers, so we're not playing carrier roulette. We're exhausting our leads. We're getting referrals and follow-ups. All right. The next thing is, I think a lot of times people focus on everything I just said and then the activity starts to slip. So that you got to watch out for that. But what's the next step, right? So you could just take everything we just said, and maybe you're a Hall of Fame producer. Maybe you're somewhere in like you're selling multiple 6 figures a year. You're doing well, but then what? But then what? Right? So what kind of conversations would you have for the person there? Like they don't have a staff, they don't have a team, they're just crushing it. They do a good job and they're like, yeah, this is it. I'm doing good.
Yeah, I mean, we want to try to obviously get some of your time back. So, I mean, technology, staff, like all of that stuff is super important. But then also like deciding like what is the next thing. So like how can we make it better? So it's like if you're doing 300-400 a year and you're just a solopreneur, well, the easiest and quickest way that we can make this better is let's get you some technology so we can obviously get some stuff booked hands free. Let's improve your persistency so you can keep more. Like let's help you become a business owner. Staff. I've got great staff who waits on hold with Americo for me, so I don't have to. Like that kind of stuff. Let's obviously get you there. But then like what's next? Like we have to scale something. So like, are we going to scale our activity by spending more on leads and figuring out how we can be more efficient? Are we going to kind of scale our premium per household? So like my first year, my average premium per household was like $700 per sale, and then it was like 1,500 per sale in year 2, and now at least this month my average premium per sale has been like 3,500 to 4,000. So it's like when it's like, and how does that scale? That scales with obviously skill and repetition, showing bigger numbers, but then also like I was working final expense in the home and then mortgage protection and then IUL trucker leads. So like my lead flow has also evolved. So it's like if I'm going to be a solopreneur salesperson, am I evolving in all things? Am I just doing the same thing and just kind of crossing my fingers and hoping it's going to work? Or am I scaling my production? Am I figuring out what's next? All of that stuff. And then, from there, it's like, okay, if I'm not just going to be a solopreneur, it's how do I impart everything that I've just learned onto a new agent? How do we take everything that Josh and I just talked about, recruit a new agent, get them focused in on selling, get them focused in on going from dependent to independent, get them focused in on becoming a real business owner, and being a steward of these things. Like that's really what it comes down to, is either you're going to be a solopreneur and you're just going to figure out how can I infinitely scale this. Like you're probably not going to go sell $1 million a month, so it's not going to scale that way. But maybe you get to 100 grand a month, or maybe 50 grand a month, and you find out like how to infinitely make your lifestyle better. So like for me, like right now, selling 40, 50 grand a month, my lifestyle is 1,000 times better than it was when I first started. When I first started, it was like I never saw my family ever. I was never available on Saturdays for anything. I missed every single bedtime. I was dialing the phone or at the office at 7, 8 a.m. every single day. Now I'm with my kids every single morning until 10:30. Like that was unheard of a couple of years ago. Now every Saturday morning, my wife and I get coffee, and I'm not working Saturday mornings. Now we have a date night. We didn't have that before. Like now I'm able to go and do like a class at my church every Monday night and still do it because I figured out how to scale on the lifestyle side. So it's like whatever it is, whatever's next, it's either like how can you make selling 40 to 50 grand a month just like better for your lifestyle? So staff, efficiency, technology, evolving your leads, whatever that is, or how can I teach a new person how to do exactly what I've done so that I can earn an override and I can get to a point where if I get, 20 agents selling 20 grand a month at 20 points of spread, I make $1 million a year. It's like that's kind of the evolution here, Josh.
Yeah, so I would say number one is like a skill thing, right? So whatever you're selling today that is, paying the bills, maybe that's final expense, mortgage protection, whatever it is, right? You should make a point to learn all facets, all products, right? And so it's to think that I got my one or two lead sources, I got my one way of doing things, and I'm just going to ride this off in the sunset. One thing that we know that is inevitable is change is going to happen, right? Change in lead types, change in marketing, change in what's going out in the world, right? Mortgages changed a few years ago. Change is going to happen, and so making a point to learn final expense, mortgage protection, IUL, annuity, right? Learning all of that over time. You don't have to do it tomorrow, and maybe you're not an expert in all fields, but you're at least knowledgeable enough and you put in practice to make sure that every single time you're doing a good inventory or a fact finder or a needs analysis. And so that when somebody says they have a 401k, right, you can at least talk to them about it and tee up that opportunity because, now this year, um, I've done the most annuities that I've ever done. Now, am I some top annuity producer doing 10 million a year? No, I'm not. But it made me an extra six figures that, I've never had before because I've never talked about, those kinds of products before. So that was just an evolution. Hey, let me learn something new so that I can have these bigger conversations. Not that I'm going to do it all the time, but if somebody wants to roll over a $500,000, I can help them to do that. Now, maybe you want to later on really become, very, very good at that. And that is what we talk about is like scaling your premium, scaling your opportunities, those kinds of things. Also, being around people like, asking questions. Oh, my average sale is $700. Luana's average sale is $3,000. Why is that? Well, there's probably some things that I could learn from her and figure out why that is. So that's number one. Number two is again, it's staff. Now with staff is not going to fix all your problems because you have to sell enough to afford the staff, but it's going to be such a huge help in your business. So you can do what you're good at, which is helping clients, and then they can help you to do all the things that you don't directly make money to do, which is, you know, organization, back offices, carriers, missed payments, delivery receipt requirements, all that kind of stuff. And that's going to help you to go out and do more. And then finally, right, you have to decide, am I going to be a sole producer or am I going to build a team? Now, building a team doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a team of 1,000 producers and sail off in the sunset. If you do, rock on. But it does mean like, hey, maybe I have 5, 10, 20 people that I have taught, how to do what I've done. Maybe they don't do it to your level, but at the end of the day, you got to think, right? Like, if I go on a vacation for a week, does my income completely stop? And if the answer is yes, you need to think of how you can correct that, right? Maybe it's having some agent partners. Maybe it's having a few people on your team. Maybe it's growing a team. Maybe it's building out a staff. You have to do something to grow, or else if you get sick, you take time off, like, you can just never get off the wheel. And at some point, even if you're making a ton of money, if that is the situation for you, you're going to get sick of it and want to look at other things. That's just how it goes. That's just what happens. We're just calling it out now so you can plan for it and grow into that, right? And so I would do an assessment at some point. We have the holidays here, maybe over Thanksgiving, of like, okay, hey, if you know, how have I done this year? Am I happy with that? What's my plans for next year? Usually we run to, I'm going to make X amount of dollars, but then it's like, hey, what about my lifestyle that makes me happy? Am I able to put some of these things in there? Doesn't mean that you can stop working, but can I take time out with the kids if you have kids? Can I do the thing, or my hobbies or whatever? And maybe you're in a season where it's short-term pain for long-term gain, and that's definitely true. But if it's like forever pain and no joy, like, you're just going to burn out if you don't feel like you're progressing to that. And so that's not the business's fault. You just need to plan to make sure, if I keep doing what I'm doing today, is it going to get me there in a year or 2 years or 3 years? And what does that look like once I'm there? Right. And so putting some of these, you're not just making money, you're building a machine that makes money so you can do more than what you can do on your own. It's called leverage. So any final thoughts, Jamie?
Yeah, build a machine that makes you money and not a machine that feels like a monster that's going to take you out. Because I've been in both scenarios, and sometimes you start to resent your business because it does feel like that sometimes. But um, if you can do some things to set yourself up for success, like, I don't think if I was still doing today what I was doing 4 years ago, I could be making the same money today as I was making 4 years ago, but I would have absolutely 1,000%, without a doubt, burnt out already if I was doing the same thing that I was doing 4 years ago. There's no possible way. Like, as much like I was the guy who was like, never, ever, ever skip a Saturday. That's it, period. If I ever catch you skipping a Saturday, you obviously don't care about your business. Like, to the point where, like, I was on an anniversary, date with my wife on a Saturday, and she, like, wanted to post us at the lake. And I'm like, don't post that because I can't let the team know that I'm not working on a Saturday. That's a miserable way to live. Just get better, and you can have less hours. You can actually live a good life and still be just as productive and just as profitable if you just decide to get better.
So, and then Nick said, or you could just get AI and take advantage of the Black Friday sale that's going till Monday for new users, or you could take advantage of the nearly 50% off on the annual and just forget everything we said. That will take care of it all. So,
There you go. Yeah,
leadchampro.com with
if you have okay, anybody on here who has a team, is a part of a team, if this has been positive for you in any way, shape, or form, like, we would appreciate if you get any value out of this call or any value out of Lead Champ, that you would share the $29 deal. Get some more people into this ecosystem. We would highly appreciate it. And we appreciate everybody who's with us every week.
Absolutely. Everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. We will not be running support on Thanksgiving Day. We will pick back up on Friday. So just hit the support button. We also have support in Discord. And hey, everybody, have a great one. Be blessed. Be thankful. We'll return next Wednesday to resume our Lead Champ Pro call. You guys have a great one for now.